Yeah, I'm all in.
Who is that guy? It's been a while. Yes, Tobias Harris, back tonight for the 76ers. What about this fella? Young Matisse Thybulle, check, also back tonight for the 76ers. And behind door number 3, Shake Milton, much like Tobias and Matisse, back for the 76ers as they get set to wrap up a 2-game home series versus the Miami Heat, going for the sweep. How you doing? Welcome back to 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer. Lauren Rosen is at the center. Lauren, the 76ers have a basketball squad tonight. They're getting closer. Not everyone, but they're getting close.
They have what feels like almost a full roster. And a year ago, if you had told me that's something we'd be celebrating, I would say, wow, low expectations. But now it really is something to celebrate. Great to see those 3 walking in. Shout out, as always, to Ryan Coletti and Trevor Gaffney for queuing up the perfect arrival photos to announce that, yes, indeed, Tobias Harris, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle, all back, all available this evening. Doc Rivers just told us he expects to play all of them until their tongues are wagging because the other guys need a little bit of rest. So it'll be cool to see those guys back on the court with their teammates. I know they were excited to get back. I know their teammates are thrilled to have them back. So tonight, an almost together 76ers. Notably, Seth Curry still out due to health and safety protocols. Furkan Korkmaz also still out with his injury, but they're both on the road to recovery, and we're taking a big step towards getting the group back together tonight.
76ers trying to tread water the best they can. They're 8-4, tied for second in the Eastern Conference right now. And it's crazy, Lauren, they're going up against a Miami Heat team that, as we saw on Tuesday in the 76ers, 137-134 overtime win. The Heat are so depleted, and they're not getting anyone of consequence back tonight, at least last we heard this afternoon. So the Sixers will be getting more players back. Miami will not be. You would think hopefully that's an upper hand for the Sixers, although I'd presume that some of these guys the Sixers are returning to the lineup are going to need some time to get their game legs back under them. But it's weird. You can step back now and essentially, fingers crossed, perfect world, 76ers might have, in the rear view, be looking at essentially 2 or 3 games where this was a real issue. They lost the Denver game, of course. They lost the game in Atlanta as well. But they rallied on Tuesday for a gritty overtime win, and now they're getting healthier and healthier. And you hope that far down the road they can look back on this time as just a blip, even though it seemed really crazy when they were living and going through it.
Yes, indeed. Here's to hoping that this is the only week of the sort that the Sixers will deal with this season. But obviously, we don't know what is left to come in a condensed season with a lot of factors, external factors at play. But yes, happy to have this group back in the lineup. If you're just starting to join us now, I was checking out the YouTube comments. Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, Shake Milton back in the lineup tonight, available after, 4 games away? 3 games away due to health and safety protocols. So it's good to have those guys back. Doc Rivers thrilled to have those guys back, but things move quickly. And I thought it was interesting, Seltz. We just heard from Doc Rivers, and he said this morning in shoot around, he ran a set and the 3 of them were sort of like, excuse me, like, what is this? And Doc had forgotten that they had already developed new plays, new looks in the week that those guys had been away. So expect there to be a little bit of a learning curve, maybe a little bit of trying to feel each other out once again. But overall, never bad to have 3 of the guys in your rotation back in your rotation.
No, and I think anyone who's been involved in the NBA, whether you're a coach, a player, an executive, a media member, someone who works game ops, a trainer, they'll tell you that a week in the NBA is a really long period of time. It feels like a long period of time, and a lot can change. So that was a real interesting nugget that Doc revealed. And I think also the fact that even though those three players, Tobias, Matisse, and Shake, were at the 76ers training complex earlier today for shoot-around, they really haven't been able to go one-on-one or five-on-five or physically go up in live action over the course of the last week or so when they've been absent.
Exactly, Celts. So again, we got to give those guys a little bit of grace when they get out there tonight. Things do move quickly in this league, but again, it can't be bad to have a guy like Tobias Harris, who was on an all-star worthy tear to start the season, back in the lineup. Shake Milton, obviously doing an incredible job as this team's at least de facto sixth man at this point. And of course, Matisse Thybulle on defense. He was getting back into his groove after missing time with his injury. So for all three of them to get back into stride, it's a huge thing for this team. And hopefully they'll keep their foot on the gas against this Miami team that they were able to beat without those three guys, but that looked pretty frisky and pretty talented at times. So we got to take this group seriously tonight.
And listen, in the game on Tuesday, Ben Simmons was back, and we saw him having – and everyone should, if you have any expectations, temper them a little bit tonight for the three players that we noted who are going to be back in the lineup. As far as expectations for the big man, Joel Embiid, where do they go based on what he showed in Tuesday's game? Just an amazing stat line, 45 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists. He was phenomenal. Before we get to a highlight package, if we can catch Trevor and Coletti in time, let's play some sound from Dwight Howard to give us a little bit of a tease, setting the context for just what type of performance Joel Embiid gave the 76ers, critical to them surviving in overtime against Miami.
You know, I'm really proud of Joel, and you know how he's handled himself this year. You know, I'm a big believer in him. You know, I think he has the potential to be one of the greatest big men to ever, you know, play basketball. And it's really on him and how bad he wants it. And, you know, I just want to be there for him, be a year for him. You know, just push him because I really believe in him. He showed tonight, you know, what he's capable of and what he can do really, you know, for his whole career. And, you know, we just got to continue to trust him. You got to continue to trust us. And just like he always been saying, you know, trust the process because it is a process. It takes time to be great. And, you know, I'm super happy with how he played tonight. He did an amazing job. He hit some big shots, big stops on defense, big steals. He had an overall great game. And so I'm super impressed and happy to see the success that, you know, he's had so far in his career. And I just want him to continue to believe and push himself.
Inspirational, insightful stuff from Superman Dwight Howard. And Lauren, the thing that I love the most about Joe's game on Tuesday was that there was nothing hollow in the least about the numbers he put up. It was so impactful the way he went out there when the Sixers fell behind by 13, ratcheted up his intensity level, and the game totally changed after that.
Absolutely. The 20-point third quarter. And I asked Joel about that third quarter after the game, and he said there was no chance that they were going to lose that game. He decided, and it was all from there. It was all going to lose this game. He said his teammates put in the work that they needed to put in. Obviously, we had that huge shot from Dakota Matthias at the end, but here's Joel absolutely dominating in that third quarter. He uses the word dominate, and this was a perfect example of what he means when he says he wants to dominate every game he plays in. 20 points in the third quarter alone, Celts. His third quarter stats were a pretty good game for most guys in this league.
I'm just still amazed, Lauren, that he managed to stop on a dime, slash to his left, and throw it down on that one dunk. So impressive. And I think if you chart and go back and look at that third quarter, he had a say in 27 straight points the Sixers scored. He scored 8 in a row, assisted on a 3, scored 10 straight, and then he assisted on 2 more threes. 27 straight points. It's just amazing. And I think that Joe has had the perfect balance of everything on the court and off. As you see, He's been one to play for the imaginary crowd. His sense of levity and humor is there. But I also think, like when you see that block from behind on Precious Achua, he's getting down and he's being serious and he means business. I just love where Joe is at in terms of its seemingly his headspace and then his production on the court.
And yeah, you see there, this is his 9th career 40-point game, but he also had 5 steals. He was blocking shots. He was stealing the ball. He was getting it done on both ends. And a two-way performance like what we saw from Joel on Tuesday is the reason that there are legitimate conversations and arguments for Joel Embiid to be an early MVP favorite, if not the early MVP favorite in this league, which is just phenomenal for someone who says that that's been one of his ambitions for a long time. He wants to be the best player in this league, and Celts, he's playing like it right now.
It is impossible to not notice what Joel Embiid is doing for the 76ers. We mentioned his line, 45 points, 16 rebounds, a career-high 5 assists, the first player since 83-84 to put up those splits in a single game. And we alluded to this, but Joel, he is focused on giving his team more, not just in terms of production, but as far as the tone that's being set as well.
Absolutely. I love what he said about his teammates. He said he's going to give it everything he can. He's going to will them to victories, but he needs his teammates. And when we think about the week that's gone by, guys like Isaiah Joe, Dakota Matthias, Tyrese Maxey a little bit too, maybe we didn't expect to see them playing as heavy minutes as they did this week. Certainly, most of them not expecting to have NBA starts under their belts at this point, but this is a truly unique season, and it was really cool to see them perform at such a high level. We're going to hear Danny Green talk a little bit more about that later, but to have the young guys get such significant run alongside Joel Embiid and really develop chemistry with someone like that this early in this season, it can only be helpful down the road for this team, as we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the rest of this season. So really cool to see those young guys get the run that they got and make a legitimate impact in legitimate NBA competition.
Joel Embiid weighing in after Tuesday night's game.
I'm not sure. I'm just, I guess, every year you keep learning, you keep trying to get better, and then this year is different than others. This year we started so well, and we got a great group of guys that, I'm just trying to lead everyone, just trying to make sure we got a good chance. Everybody stays healthy. We got a good chance to, win it all, get to the finals. So I'm just trying to make sure I do my job. But we also got a lot of young guys. They got a lot of talent, that need to learn. I've been in the league for a long time to be able to, guide them through a lot of situations. Tyrese has been playing well. Sometimes he makes mistakes. And, you just got to let him know how everything works. And at times we're not playing the right way, so you got to get on them. You got to explain them how everything is supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. And the best thing about all of them is that they're willing learners. They listen, they learn, they go out, they do the right thing. So that's why we got a great group of guys. I really love all of them.
Love that type of talk from Joel Embiid. It's so interesting, Lauren, because to me, this really feels like the first time in Joel Embiid's career where you can't really call him a young guy anymore. I don't think he'd want to be referred to in that context either. And that to me was mature leadership style talk that he delivered right there, talking about the role he needs to assume and setting an example for some of the younger players.
Yeah, that's something you and I offlined about a little bit earlier this season. Joel and Ben, both young all-stars, incredible for their age, really have progressed to a very high level in this league very early. But are they young guys anymore? I'm not sure. At least on this team, they are both bringing a veteran presence now, and it really does feel like they are guys you can trust on and off the court with leadership. It's cool to see them sort of growing up on and off the court this year. And like you said about Joel just now, the way he talked about his teammates and how important they are to the group's success. Personally, I just loved hearing him say that he loves them. I think that's wholesome content. I think that's indicative of a really strong team chemistry when your all-star MVP candidate big man is developing such strong bonds with your rookies, your two-way players, your new guys. It's a special chemistry that this team is developing, and it was really cool to hear Joel talk about it the way he did.
Listen, let's spotlight some other key performers from the game on Tuesday night. Danny Green was excellent, 29 points, 9 threes, 10 rebounds. Isaiah Joe, a really solid game, 13 points, 4 3-pointers, had some really key plays in crunch time. And then, while Dakota Matthias only had one made basket, it was arguably the most important one of the night that shot the 76ers in the lead for good.
We have got to give props to Dakota Matthias, who, like a couple of these other guys, probably didn't expect to be playing heavy minutes. And like you said, those were his 3 points that night, and they ended up being the game-winning 3 points. So for a guy that's just getting his first NBA experience, to have that level of confidence, to have his teammates' trust, to know that he can put that shot up and make it in such a big-time situation, just so cool. And you got to respect Dakota for having that level of confidence, no doubt.
Danny Green is not a guy who is short on confidence. He went 0 for the Atlanta Hawks game, bounced back in a big way. He was really excited by the win. And I thought it was very telling, obviously, of his makeup and DNA, Lauren, that he rose to the occasion when the 76ers needed to stop the bleeding, regardless of who was on the roster and who was available or not.
Well, shooters shoot, Celts. We know this. And Danny Green is one of the greatest shooters of all time in this game. So we shouldn't have been surprised to see him come back with that level of confidence. Dwight Howard, after the game, said that the whole team was really proud of Danny. Apparently, they're calling him Mr. Three Rings now, which is a well-deserved nickname for a guy that's been to the top of the mountain as many times as he had. It was great to see Danny level up after a rough performance and then have a career high performance. And he and I discussed that this morning.
Hey, Danny. As someone who's a respected veteran in this league, who's been to the top of the mountain a few times already, how good does it feel to have a night like you did on Tuesday, where you set a career best in threes? What's it like to know that you're continuing to raise the bar higher for yourself?
It's always good to get those individual accomplishments, but I think more importantly to me and to us was getting the win. I didn't care how we got it. I would have taken the 0 for 9 game if we would have got the win. And breaking 9 threes, whatever the record was, or having 30 and losing, I would prefer the win over the loss, regardless of the numbers. But it makes it that much better to be able to do that and a win. So I'm glad we got the job done. But yeah, it would have been nice to, I guess, get over the hump, and we'd have to go to overtime if I'd hit that last one. It would have been nice.
Fair enough. And then as a leader of this team, now that some of the guys are returning to the lineup, at least in the next few games, what do you hope that the young guys learned in the last few games? Obviously, a few of them had big moments. So what do you hope that they take with them from this experience?
Yeah, thank God everybody's back. I think we're just all hoping and praying that we got some guys, some reinforcements of clearance. During that time, the young guys did a great job of holding it down and learning a bunch in a short amount of time. They grew. I think that's what's going to make our team deeper. You're as strong as your weakest link, especially during times like these where anything can happen, injuries. It's a shortened season. There's going to be some crazy things happening, whether it's COVID or injuries. We're going to need our young guys, especially from the end of the bench, to be ready, prepared. And I think them jumping in the fire this early in the season allowed them to grow and to understand and be ready for all times and know how to guard certain teams, certain players, and be ready for that moment when it comes.
Danny Green, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Mr. Three Rings. I think that is a very obviously worthy, but great nickname that has a good ring to it. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I really didn't. And I really get on myself for silly cliched broadcaster statements. I didn't mean to do that.
It's okay. I'm all in. I'm all in for
Thank
giving
you.
credit where credit is due. And Danny Green is someone who deserves credit. Always a pleasure to catch up with him. I really, really like the way that he talks about the young guys. It's very clear that he's a vocal leader for this team. And it's cool to have so many voices like Danny now in this locker room. Dwight Howard has been an amazing leader for this team. Tobias Harris was a leader for this team before those guys got there. You and I just discussed Ben and Joel stepping up as leaders. So it is cool to see, obviously, a lot of young guys getting run, but veteran leaders that can really be in their ears and really help them grow in what has been such a crazy season for all involved. So just a pleasure to see Danny succeed at this point in his career, still raising the bar. Really awesome to see that performance from him on Tuesday.
Speaking of teams going through crazy things, The Miami Heat are in the middle one right now. They are missing 8 players tonight at least. We'll run through the list, at least last we heard. Bam Adebayo, Avery Bradley, Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Mo Harkless, Udonis Haslem, Kendrick Nunn, Casey Okpala as well. So it's tough sledding for the Miami Heat. But I think the one thing that and that this may sound cliched, is that Eric Spoelstra gets them up to play. That Heat culture thing is real. I think it's a very real thing. We saw that on Tuesday night. So the Sixers got to zero in particular on Mr. Tyler Hero.
Absolutely. Hero was great. Duncan Robinson was great on Tuesday. And look no further than the Sixers' performance on Saturday. They had 7 guys playing, and they very nearly competed with and beat a healthy Denver Nuggets team. So these shorthanded teams can still bring the fire. They can pack a punch. So let's make sure that the Sixers are taking them seriously tonight, because if they do, I do agree with you. This feels like a pretty winnable game for the gang.
I think it is that time. Our Tissot keys to the game here on 7-6 Live Countdown. Lauren Rosen is going to go first tonight. The countdown clock is on, and the floor, Lauren, is yours.
Well, my key to the game, we've said a full 48 plenty of times. I went with maintain intensity. We just talked about it, but with a shorthanded Miami team on the other side of the ball tonight, you want to get out early, build a lead, and then keep that lead. Doc Rivers said in his first speech to this team that if you're up 20, let's win by 30. If you're up 30, let's win by 40. This feels like an opportunity to do that. These guys obviously coming back together for the first time in a while. So once they can start vibing with each other, as long as they get the intensity together, they should be in good shape.
I'm with you 100%. As far as my key to the game, it's just get the groove back. I still think even though this is a shortened season, 72 games is a lot. I would love a 76er win tonight, of course, but if the only thing that comes of tonight is Tobias Harris, Shake Milton, and Matisse Thybulle getting back out there, feeling comfortable with their teammates, I'm okay with that. Those guys are really important. It's awesome that it looks like they're going to be back. I just want them to get back into a rhythm again. That's it.
I don't know about you, Celts, but I'm just excited to see a full unit of Sixers together.
Yeah.
I mean, here at the center, something that's been really jarring for me is watching warmups. And we talked about this last time, but seeing just 7 guys participate in layup lines together, there's not enough guys to get in line. So it's going to be really nice to see the guys back together again, looking like an almost full squad, something that we might have taken for granted in years past, rather. A full squad in the NBA in 2020, 2021, not something that's that easy to come by. And tonight, like Doc Rivers said, without Seth, without Furkan, they are not a full squad, but they are a much fuller squad than they've been in the rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they look together.
And listen, this was what everyone was talking about when this began a week ago. The 76ers were in Brooklyn last Thursday, is that the circumstance is going to yield opportunities for guys who would not have otherwise gotten them. And I think that if you asked anyone within the 76ers, if you asked a media member, a fan, do you feel comfortable a little bit more now with like having seen Isaiah Joe, for instance, or Dakota Matthias step up in a big spot? Yeah, that's not to say that these guys are going to be called upon if the 76ers, knock on wood, are at full strength in a game 7 of the NBA Finals, but we have all learned more about these other players that were deeper on the roster who got an opportunity to play. So I think that, listen, if the Sixers can emerge from this still solidly above 500, which at this stage in the season they are at 8-4, hopefully things improve in terms of the spread of this whole thing across the league, and the Sixers don't have to go through this again. You know what? If the worst thing that happened was they had to play some younger guys, less experienced guys for 3 games, could be worse situations.
Well, and I like what Danny Green said. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And who might be considered weak links on this team, or at least the youngest, lowest run guys on this team, looked pretty darn good this week. So it was cool to hear Danny give them, I believe this is Danny right here over my shoulder, actually, give them some props for playing heavier minutes as younger guys and developing as NBA players, because you never know when they're going to be called upon again, especially in a season like this one. So I loved hearing Danny say that he really has confidence in those guys and admired the way that they played over the last few days.
My eyesight's okay, but I still am not good yet at getting the over the Lauren Rosen shoulder
It's
body
definitely Danny
identifier.
Green. Can confirm.
Okay. Yeah,
Can confirm. I took a
figured.
closer look.
Good. Great.
And
Excellent.
look, the shots are
Yes.
going in. Shooters shoot. He's making them. We love to see it.
All right. Well, this is our new routine. I say thank you to our production staff of Ryan Coletti and Trevor Gaffney, and Lauren Rosen. You can send us off.
Yes, thank you as always to our production team, and thank you guys for following along. I love reading the YouTube comments, love reading the Twitter comments. Thank you for doing this with us. It's a pleasure to connect with you. As always, please stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you next on Saturday, I believe. Thanks, guys.